All right, I think we can get started. I see the attendees tab is filling up with participants. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alan Haroutounian. I am the co-chair of the Young Lawyers Committee of the Armenian Bar Association. I have with me my co-moderator here, Alexandre Giragosyan. Alexandre, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Alan. So my name is Alexandre Giragosyan. I'm the co-chair for the Student Affairs Committee of the Armenian Bar Association. And just to give folks, since I assume a lot of the registrants are students, an idea of what the Student Affairs Committee does. So first, we provide academic support for students. In the past, that's been in the form of a prep course we've offered. It's a 3-day prep course regarding how to succeed in law school. It's usually for incoming students and 1Ls. We also provide professional support. That includes an annual resume review. In order to expose law students to different law firms, we do a thing called a firm crawl, which is basically just a social event held at different law firms in Los Angeles. And we also have the Next Generation program, which operates kind of like our mentorship program. So if you submit your application through the bar's website and you let us know where you're located and what field you're interested in, we try to find you with an attorney that's also located in that same area and practices in that field. And lastly, we're a bridge between the Armenian Bar Association and different law schools. And we serve that function primarily by working with the National Armenian Law Student Association. So every campus has their own Armenian Law Student Association, and the umbrella organization is called NALSA, or the National Armenian Law Student Association. And we help organize meetings, and we also connect students and student groups to attorney speakers for on-campus events. And with that, I'll turn it over back to Alan.
Thank you, Alexandre, for that. To add, so the Young Lawyers Committee works a lot with with Alexandre and his committee to work with lawyers that have just graduated from law school and are looking to network and meet attorneys. So we strive to hold networking events through the firm crawl, where we introduce young attorneys to older practicing attorneys where they can network. We also hold the 20 under 40 event, which we held last year in New York, and we hope to continue to do. And aside from that, we kind of work, I kind of work on the back end with members to try to connect them with people that they meet at different events and try to get them placed in opportunities. So one of the purpose of today's event is to discuss opportunities with the California Attorney General's Office. Today we have a great panel of speakers for you guys, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody and then have everybody speak. Today we have a Deputy Attorney General, Angela Sierra, who serves as the advisor to the California Department of Justice Division of Operations. Hi, Angela. Thank you for joining us. We have Edward Kim, who's also Deputy Attorney General of the Health Quality Enforcement Section of the office. Hi, Edward. Thank you for joining us. We have David Meeker, Deputy Attorney General, who works in the Natural Resources Law Section. Hi, David. Thank you. And last but not least, we have the Honorable Zaven Sinanyan of the Los Angeles Superior Court, and who is also serving as a Justice Pro Tem on the California Court of Appeal for the 2nd District. Hi, Judge Sinanyan, thank you for joining us. We're going to have, Angela's going to talk briefly about give an overview of the Deputy Attorney General's, the Attorney General's office, and also later in the program discuss the honors program. David Meeker is going to speak about what it's like to be a Deputy Attorney General, how he got to the office, what his day-to-day responsibilities are, and things like that. And Edward Kim is going to speak about the externship and internship opportunities that the office provides. And then Judge Sinanyan is going to talk about his experience as a former Deputy Attorney General, how that helped him get to become a judge, and things like that. So without further ado, I will pass it on to Angela. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Alan. And thank you for inviting me and my colleagues to come speak with your organization this evening. Really very much appreciate it. So good evening, everybody. I'm Angela Sierra. I am with the Attorney General's office, and I've been with our office for over now 34 years. I started in our office directly out of law school. A month or so after taking the bar, I had the honor of working with Judge Haroutounian when he was also in our office. So we go back. And I've worked in different sections and different divisions of our office in different capacities. And the reason I found out about the office was because someone came to speak to my law school class. And it really was eye-opening for me because I had never really even thought about our office as a place to have my legal career. So I'm very passionate about getting the word out because I think it's just a wonderful office. I've had a wonderful experience there. And I actually retired in September, and I have come back to work on some special projects. One of them is to do recruitment and outreach. So again, thank you. So I just wanted to begin this very briefly to talk about what the Attorney General's office is and what we do at a very high level for those of you who may not be as familiar with the office. So the Attorney General's office is part of the California Department of Justice. And the head of the office is the California Attorney General, who currently is Javier Becerra. And that position, the Attorney General's position is he's an elected official. So we as Californians, you know, every 4 years we vote for our Attorney General. And as the Attorney General, he is basically the state's top lawyer. He's the state's top law enforcement official. And his mission and the mission of our office is basically to protect and serve the interests of California and our residents. And we do this through a very broad range of duties. And one of the very significant duties that we have is to provide legal services to a very broad range of state agencies and public officials or state public officials, including our constitutional officers like the governor and the Attorney General. We are a very large office. We have actually over 1,300 attorneys in our office. That makes us the biggest, basically the biggest law firm in California. And I think nationally, excuse me, we are just second in size to the U.S. Department of Justice. When you take into account, in addition to the attorneys, we have a whole host of investigators, we have sworn peace officers, we have analysts, we have those who are involved in forensic services and paralegals, a very broad range of employees in our office. We actually are about 4,500 individuals in our office. We have offices throughout California. We have offices in Sacramento, San Francisco, Oakland, Fresno, Los Angeles, and San Diego. And the legal work that we do in our office is organized into some main legal divisions. And until this week, we've had 3 legal divisions for many years. We've just added one, which I'll talk about. But what historically the 3 legal divisions have been and continue to be now are the civil law division, we have a criminal law division, and a public rights division. And now this week, the Attorney General just announced that he is creating a 4th division, and it's going to be the Division of Medi-Cal Fraud and Elder Abuse. That has been a section within our criminal law division, but given the importance of that issue and increasingly importance of that issue, the Attorney General has determined to actually separate that out and make it its own division. Now I know, and I think Alan mentioned that we have provided brochures that give an overview of each of the divisions. And so I encourage you to take a look at those because they spell out within each division, there are a number of sections. For example, in our civil division, there's 9 sections and they each focus on slightly different type of work. Our public rights division, there are 11 sections. So these brochures, I give you the titles of the sections and a little bit about what they do. And those brochures also, very importantly, provide our website oag.ca.gov. That's on those brochures. And when you go there, there's a wealth of information. You can find out a lot about the work of our divisions and the attorneys, the work that our attorneys are doing. And you can very importantly find out about vacancies for attorneys. In our division, we have a career page that outlines, is always being updated as to positions that are available in our office in the different sections. It also has information about how to apply and information about interns, vacancies, which Ed will be talking about, and information about our honors program, which I'll be talking about down the road. So just briefly, I think I have a couple more minutes. I'll talk a little bit about each division. Our civil division is basically the division of our office that provides legal services to state agencies and public officials. A lot of the work that is done out of the civil division is defense-oriented work that you are representing a different state agency. For example, we have a health, education, and welfare section. You may be representing the Department of Education in a matter in which it is being challenged. We have a tort section where you may be involved in a personal injury matter that involves the state. We have, it runs a gamut from, it could be a slip and fall case to a case that's worth many, many millions of dollars, depending on the incident. We have an employment-related section that is doing employment-related work on the defense side primarily, but also sometimes when a state agency, for example, representing the Department of Corrections, needs to discipline an officer, or could be excessive force or some other improper type of activity. Those attorneys from that section would be representing the agency and handling that matter. That type of matter might be in an administrative form. A lot of the work that's being done in the civil division, though, is being done in the superior courts in California. We also have a couple of sections in that division that's doing more prosecutorial work that both, I'm sure, Judge Ananian and Ed will be talking about, where these sections, health quality and enforcement, licensing, they're representing professional boards. For example, the medical board, if a doctor has engaged in some improper conduct, has harmed a patient, and the medical board determines they need to take action against that doctor, it's our attorneys in our office will be representing the medical board in pursuing that matter and litigating that matter. So folks in our civil division, you get a ton of litigation experience. I started there, I worked there for 15 years. I had amazing cases that ran from really small cases that I handled as a junior attorney to very large class action matters as a more senior attorney there. And you're in administrative forums, superior court, and the appellate courts, all the way up to the Supreme Court. Our criminal law division does what it sounds like. It represents the state of California in upholding the Attorney General's responsibility in representing our state in criminal matters. Primarily appellate work. So for those who are interested in appellate work, it's a really great section division to think about. They are representing the state, for example, after a local district attorney has prosecuted, for example, a felony matter, and there was a conviction, and if there is an appeal of that conviction, the attorneys in our office then handle the case on appeal. They're the ones drafting the briefs, they're the ones arguing the matters in the Court of Appeal or the California Supreme Court. Some of the attorneys in that division also do trial work. Sometimes a local district attorney needs to recuse themselves from a matter. And so the matter will come to our office, and the attorneys in our office will actually handle the criminal trial in that matter. And there's other examples of special types of cases that maybe are involving more than one county, for example, that our office may be involved in handling the prosecution. The third legal division I'll just briefly talk about is the Public Rights Division. I transferred into that division 15 years into my career, and that also, we're representing the state of California, but mostly in a plaintiff's capacity, where we are the party, the ones filing the lawsuit, or the ones engaging in an investigation of, it could be of a company or a city or a county, on a whole host of matters. It could be an antitrust matter. It could be a civil rights matter. We have a consumer law section that is, focused on consumer rights. We have several environmental related sections. So very dynamic division as well. There are a few state agencies we represent in the division, but most of it is what we call plaintiff-oriented, where we are taking the initiative, and most of it is done at the discretion of the Attorney General. So these are the types of cases where attorneys in our division will be seeing a problem or hearing a problem, hearing about a problem from advocates or others who file complaints with their office, and present recommendations, through their sections all the way to the Attorney General, and ask the Attorney General for permission to either give us authority for issuing civil subpoenas to engage in an investigation, or after we do an investigation, to file a lawsuit. So very interesting work. And again, changes over time depending on the types of issues California is facing and issues in which the Attorney General really feels like, it merits that the force of the office should be involved. Alan, how are you doing on time?
If you have a little bit more, I'll give you a little more time, and then we can move on to the next speaker. And then if we have questions,
okay,
we can move forward.
Sure.
Go ahead.
A couple of hallmarks of our office, I think that will probably be coming up for our other panelists, is that when you join our office, even as a new graduate, a very junior attorney, you get experience almost immediately. You are assigned your own cases. I started, while I was waiting for my bar results. So, I couldn't go to court and I couldn't sign pleadings, but, I was able to work with attorneys who had already passed the bar on their cases. And as soon as I passed the bar, I was given, my own matters. And we do provide, support. You have supervisors, we have amazing colleagues, but those are your projects. And so, you may be doing legal research and analysis on a matter and an issue that a client may have, but you're not doing it for somebody else. For the most part, you're doing it for your own case. So you are going to be the one, if somebody needs to go to court and argue a motion, let's say you were involved in discovery and you wanted to get some facts from the other side, and the other side, resists, you are the one, filing the motion, arguing the motion in court. If there's an administrative hearing or a trial, you will be given an assignment that's appropriate for your level of years out. But again, you're not just doing the work for somebody else and that they go to court, you're handling your own matters. If you have a case you're assigned and it goes to the Court of Appeal, you're the one arguing the case. So it's just a very amazing place in terms of getting experience, which is also just makes you very engaged in your work. You are the one that's working very closely with the client agencies. You're not just telling the partner or giving them ideas about what to talk to the clients about. You're the one interfacing with them. You're the one involved in the settlement negotiations. All of our work, whether it's defense-oriented or plaintiff-oriented, criminal or civil, is public service. We're here to support California. And I remember very early on, I had a very wonderful supervisor when I first started, Henry Ulrich. And one of the first things he told me is like, there's some cases you're not going to win, and I don't want you to be too upset about it. Some cases maybe you shouldn't win. Some cases you might realize that we're just not correct. And we're here at the Department of Justice. That's what we're doing. And if we need to settle a case, you can help guide a client to settle it and to improve, whatever issue is involved, just to make improvements on, policy related matters, because ultimately that's what it's about. So I'll leave it at that for now, but I will come back toward the latter part of this program to talk about the honors program, which is a very terrific program for new graduates to start working at our office. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Angela. We'll go ahead and post the links that you mentioned in our chat, webinar chat right now. And for our attendees, you guys can click on each link and see the flyers that Angela was referring to. And also at the same time, to the attendees, if you have any questions, please feel free to write it into the chat, and Alex and I will monitor it and ask the panelists at the end of the session. Thank you, Angela. Let's move on to David Meeker, who is in the Natural Resources Law section. Go ahead, David.
Thanks, Alan, and thanks everyone for having me. The internet was out today in Davis, where I live, from about 9 o'clock to 3 p.m. So I'm hoping that it will stay on for this whole, presentation that I'm about to give. Not that it'll be that long, but anyhow, as Alan mentioned, I am a Deputy Attorney General in the Sacramento office, and I am currently in the Natural Resources Law section, which is part of the Public Rights Division, which Angela just mentioned. And I'm also a newly minted intern coordinator for the Natural Resources section. But Ed is going to cover the internship process in more detail and has much more experience with that. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of my path to the AG's office, the type of work that I do at the office, and how I transitioned from the business and tax section, which is in the civil division of the AG's office, to the Natural Resources section. So all the way back in 2009, I was a 2L at the UC Davis School of Law, and I applied for an internship with the Attorney General's office here in Sacramento. And I started working there in the summer of 2009 as an intern with Natural Resources, Land Law, and the Environment section. And I also stayed on for a fall semester that I received school credit for. During that internship, I worked on a wide variety of matters, including high-speed rail cases, a confined animal feeding operation case, and greenhouse gas litigation. And at that time, the Sacramento office had a pretty robust program. I think there were about 10 interns just in my particular group, and I had a great time. I would highly recommend that. So I graduated from law school in 2010, and as folks on this call may remember, the economy back then was not so great. Fortunately, I had a job offer from a small firm in the North Bay area that I had worked for prior to law school and during my 1L summer. So I gladly took that job and practiced at that firm for nearly 7 years. Then about 4 years ago, I started looking for jobs in the Sacramento area. I knew I wanted to go back to the AG's office. At first, I was somewhat hesitant to apply because the application process involved taking an exam. And I figured, I already took one of those to become an attorney. But for those of you who are interested in working for the office, I would just recommend that you don't let that be a barrier, because it's really just a self-assessment of your experience. I will also note briefly that the application process can take some time. For my AG, or my attorney position with the AG's office, I had my first interview in February 2017, but I was not formally hired until mid-August 2017. And some of that may have been because I joined the office while it was in transition from now Senator Harris to our current AG. So I started back up with the AG's office in 2017 as an attorney 3, Deputy Attorney General 3, which I was able to do because I had 7 years of litigation experience at that point. And from September 2017 to September of last year, I worked in the business and tax section, which essentially litigates disputes over whether taxes are owed and whether a law creates a fee or a tax. The section also handles quite a few bankruptcy matters, as well as licensing writ cases for the Department of Real Estate and the Department of Insurance. During my time in business and tax, I worked on some really sophisticated litigation, including an amicus brief to the United States Supreme Court that involved working with other state AG offices, Court of Appeal briefing and oral argument, and handling writ cases, which I had no prior experience with, but they're kind of like an appeal to the superior of an administrative decision by an agency. And on a related note, just last week, the 3rd District Court of Appeal decision on a case that I worked on pretty extensively while I was in business and tax that should save the state millions of dollars for fire prevention activities. About a year and a half into my tenure with the AG's office, I had lunch with my current supervisor, who happened to be one of my intern coordinators back in 2009, and another of my intern coordinators who I now work with closely. And during that lunch, my supervisor mentioned that natural resources had positions becoming available. So eventually I decided that because I went to law school to work in the environmental sector, and I wasn't sure if the opportunity would come up again, I decided to apply. The application process did not take quite as long as when I first applied, although I did have to wait to put in 2 full years in business and tax before transferring. I also had 3 in-person interviews, including one with Angela. So thanks, Angela, for getting me here. And 1 phone interview with a person who now works in Angela's old position. I'd say the transfer process went pretty well, and my colleagues in business and tech keep in touch with them. And, you know, the pandemic, I would meet up with them for lunch on a fairly regular basis. I should also mention that, you know, at least two of the attorneys in business and tax while I was there had worked in one or two other sections in the AG's office, and some had gone to other state agencies and then back to the AG's office. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to transfer within the AG's office, and I'm really happy that I've had the experience that I did in both sections. So for the past year working in natural, I've worked on the PE bankruptcy, a legislative proposal, and several CAL FIRE civil cost recovery cases. And you've probably seen that program in the news recently with the gender reveal party that sparked a huge fire, unfortunately. And I work really closely with my supervisor. I also work with an honors deputy who has just about a year of experience now. But in that time, as Angela mentioned, has worked on some really high profile cases. And as far as I can tell, he's getting a great deal of exposure to some very complex litigation. He's appeared at and argued at hearings that I know of, maybe more. I also currently at Davis to go to law school, as well as a 2L student at Pepperdine who is receiving credit assigned to an attorney with 2 years of experience. So they're getting a pretty good experience. In general, the natural resources section also works with our office's environment section, as Angela mentioned, on some really significant cases. I won't get into all those in the interest of time. And as Angela also sort of alluded to, for nearly all of my work in business and tax and in natural resources, my clients are state agencies. So I typically work with staff counsel at the agencies and experts within the agencies. And dealing with attorneys as my client contacts has been a great experience and makes my job easier. You know, I should mention also that it's surprising to some, but I do have to track my billable hours at the Attorney General's office. Some sections in the AG's office don't have to do that. So if that's, you know, something to consider that if you're thinking about applying. But on a somewhat related note, the vacation time and benefits are very generous, which was an important factor to me because I have kids. So aside from what you would normally expect from litigation related events such as trial prep and things of that nature, the work-life balance is very good. And with that, I will turn it over to Alan.
Thank you very much, Dave. Your internet went through, and thank you for your presentation. It was very, very informative. Let's go on to Edward Kim, who is in the Health Quality Enforcement section, and he's going to discuss internship and externship opportunities for the, I believe, 2L students who are in law school now. So go ahead, Edward.
Yes, thank you, Alan. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for putting on this program. Just a little bit of background about myself. I've been with HQE during my entire career at the DOJ. Prior to that, I was in private practice for about a decade. And I kind of have both perspectives. I've worked at big firms and I've worked in the Attorney General's office, and I can reiterate what my colleagues have said. The DOJ and the Attorney General's office is a wonderful place to work. The variety of the kinds of work that our office does is like a giant government law firm. There are so many different areas of law and different sections, and that's a nice kind of segue into our intern program. The intern program in Los Angeles I've been involved with pretty much for over a decade, and it's developed into a very nicely structured, organized program that has events throughout the summer in terms of the summer internship for everyone that's in the program in Los Angeles. And I know these are very trying times in terms of being subject to the stay-at-home and work from home remotely situation. But our office this past summer has been very successful in segueing into a remote internship program. And we've been able to hold almost all of the same events, but we've done it through this video teleconferencing software. And my understanding from the interns this past summer is that it was a successful program, and we were able to pivot from meeting in person into meeting online. So just a little bit of the highlights to our program, the summer intern program that is. We normally throughout the summer will have brown bag lunches where each of the sections will give a presentation to the interns and talk about what their individual sections do. And this is a really excellent opportunity for the students to go to each brown bag lunch and listen to all the various presentations and learn about all the exciting things that the Attorney General's office in California does. Because you don't know, as a law student, you may be the next, career public interest lawyer who wants to do antitrust, and you didn't know that the Attorney General's office has an antitrust section, or consumer law. All of these sections do amazing work and have high profile litigation that you'll see in the news, and you'll get terrific and wonderful career experience. And really, I think it's among the public interest legal employers, one of the best places to work in terms of the type of work you get and the breadth of experience that you get. And I encourage all the interns in the program to go to all these events. So one of the things about the program is that each of the sections from the 3 divisions hires its own interns. So you have to, as an applicant, apply to the individual section. But that being said, once you're in the section in Los Angeles, you get to participate in all of the summer events. So typically at the beginning of the summer internship program will provide a calendar for all of the interns. And in that calendar, there will be all these events throughout the summer. And I encourage all the interns, work permitting, of course, to attend each of these events. In addition to the actual learning about the various sections, we also have opportunities in multiple events to meet with judges. So this past summer, we've had Superior Court judges, appellate judges, Supreme Court judges in California, and even a Ninth Circuit appellate court judge. And the interns really found it a terrific opportunity to sit and listen to what a judge does day in and day out. And that opportunity was highly praised. In addition to that, we also have programs. In the past, we were able to take students to places like the coroner's office or the Los Angeles Crime Lab. We couldn't do that this summer, but I think that we had other programs. For instance, we had some of our agency clients give presentations. And in addition to that, the sections in our office have made presentations about what they do. And so, for instance, torts put on these terrific training seminars about how to do discovery, how to conduct a deposition, and things of that nature, which are very helpful to law students. And also, just a point of correction, we also take applications from 1Ls as well. So we're open to the law students that are starting out as well as the ones that have had a little bit more experience. But the type of programming that we have and the structure of it is very, very exciting, I think. In addition to that, some of our sections also participate in the practical training for legal students that the California State Bar provides. And I believe there's a fee involved and a sponsorship with an attorney in our office. And then once you receive the certification, you're able to appear. So for instance, in our appeals, writs, and trials section, the summers are able to appear and present an oral argument. And so that's also another exciting opportunity that our office provides to the interns. And I can say, just based upon the breadth of experience and the types of cases that we do and the areas of law that we practice in, there's not going to be any area of law that a law student has an interest in that we're not going to be able to fill, because we pretty much run the gamut of all types opportunities and all types of experience. I myself personally, like my colleagues, have been able to appear in Superior Court, in the Court of Appeal, the California Supreme Court. So these are all wonderful opportunities that the DOJ in California allows law students and its career attorneys to become involved in, that you may not get at your run-of-the-mill large law firm until, through some time during your stay there, a case appears and you may have the opportunity to do that. But these are the types of opportunities that happen on a regular basis for attorneys, and interns are able to assist and sometimes even become more involved in those types of opportunities. So I highly encourage everyone to apply. I think it's a wonderful place to get experience, and you can check with our website at the oaj.ca.gov at careers/students. And there are all the sections that appear on that website, and you can apply to the various sections. And I encourage you to take part in our internship program. Now, of course, I'm going to have to give you the negative side, and the negative side of the program, unfortunately, is that we can't pay you. Unfortunately, these are voluntary positions that you're not going to get paid. But I think that the opportunities and the experiences that you get really more than make up for that. And I think it's a wonderful place for you to spend your summers. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Edward. That was great. I think one common theme that I've heard so far is that if not only is there a multitude of different areas where a student can explore their interests, it's that once you get hired at the office, you basically hit the ground running and get hands-on experience right away, as opposed to starting out maybe in a defense firm or a larger firm where you have to kind of work your way up to do that. So I think that's a really great advantage for applying to and working at the Attorney General's office. So thank you.
Before you move on to the next speaker, I just wanted to add one thing. When I was a law student, I interned at 3 separate governmental entities, and of those 3, one of them was the Attorney General's office, which was by far, for me, the most rewarding and fun experience. I was an intern at the Natural Resources Division, and I'd say the most memorable part of that was definitely the trip to the coroner's office, and the most disturbing was the gift shop at the coroner's office, and I'll leave it at that.
Alex, I'm going to have to ask you about that gift shop in the Q&A session. So, all right, let's take it back to Angela. She's going to discuss the honors program, which is tailored to 3L students who are looking for a entry-level position at the department. So go ahead, Angela.
Okay, great. Thank you. So our honors program, as Alan was saying, that is aimed toward either 3Ls or recent graduates. So our goal is to hire talented, recent law graduates who are committed to public service who would like to begin a career in our office. This was a program that was started in 2012 under then Attorney General Kamala Harris, has continued every year, and our current Attorney General, Javier Becerra, he's just very committed and excited about this program. And one of the reasons being is that when you go on our website and you look at the vacancies we have in our office, like for example, right now we have vacancies in our employment section, our civil rights enforcement section, our antitrust section. We have a multitude of openings, but many of those sections are looking for more experienced attorneys. You know, and so to be competitive for those positions, it's often that you will need 5, 6 years or so or more experience. And so our office has not, in the last, I would say, 8 to 10 years, been hiring that many brand new attorneys straight out of law school outside of this program. That does happen, but it is rarer. So this is a great opportunity. It's very competitive, but we are looking for just, again, very well-rounded folks who are really dedicated to this type of work or public service-oriented work. Each year under this program, we bring in between 8 and 12 recent graduates. And the program begins at the same time for all of them. So as a third year, you would be applying now. The application period is open right now, and it ends on October 19th. And I believe, Alan, you have a flyer regarding this program that you'll be able to share. And we're doing a series of webinars just so that you know about this program. We have 2 more. There's going to be a webinar on October 1st and a webinar on October 8th that will give you more detailed information about this program. And if you go on our career page, there's also on the right side of the career page, a lot of information about the program, how to apply, and frequently asked questions, etc. So the program, though, everybody will start at the same time. Let's say, like this year, 8 students are starting. And each year, we place the program in 1 or 2 of our cities. Those that are starting next month that applied a year ago will be in our Los Angeles and San Diego offices. The folks who are applying this year that are going to be graduating, for example, in May, they would be starting in September 2021, and the program that year is going to be in our San Francisco office. Now, once we select the individuals for this program, we place them, when we make them the offer, and part of the offer is we place them in a particular division and a section within that division. And as part of the application process, we do provide a place to tell us like what your preference would be if you join us through the honors program. Do you want to do criminal work, that you would prefer the criminal division, or if there's a section in the civil division, for example, or 1 or 2, which ones are those? We cannot guarantee that you would be placed in the division of your preference, but we will certainly take that into account. Ultimately, we will be making decisions based on staffing needs. And not every section has a presence in our San Francisco office. We would want to make sure to place you, in a section that not only has others in your section in that office, but has the supervisorial support for you as well. The program has some really nice attributes. So in addition to, as a working attorney in the section, so basically you start out, and let's say you are applying and we're given an offer as a third-year law student, you would be starting right after taking the bar, but waiting for your bar results. But as soon as you pass the bar, and we will give you 12 months for you to do that. So you could take the bar twice, and assuming you pass the bar during that 12-month period and you have satisfactory job performance, you would then be moved into an attorney classification in our office, which we call Deputy Attorney General. And so that would just be kind of a smooth transition. And then there is a 12-month probationary period in that position. And once you pass probation, you are a permanent employee in our office in that section. So, as with the other attorneys hired in our office, you would be given your own, cases, your own projects. In addition to the work that you would be doing in this section, we offer programming for those who are joining us through the honors program. We do programming throughout the year for that class, and it may be on legal skill development. It may be on presentations and classes on, interviewing witnesses or conducting a witness examination, or legal writing, whether it's a legal brief, a trial court brief, an appellate brief, or a memo in our office, where you may be, providing advice to a general counsel for a state agency or for the attorney general on a matter. We are also do programming on leadership opportunities and skill development. We really do see, this program as bringing in the future leaders for our office. And we're a large office, and there's lots of leadership opportunities. So we want to kind of start, working on those and making people really see, the opportunities in our office from the very early stages. Whether it's a leadership opportunity and handling a large matter where we maybe have a team of attorneys on, or if mentoring others is something that really appeals to you, perhaps becoming a supervisor in a section ultimately, down the road. So we'll be having programming around those issues as well. Everybody that comes on board through the honors program is assigned a mentor in their section. So they would have a supervisor, for example, who would be providing assignments to them and help in, mentoring them as well and supervising them, but there'll be a separate mentor. Often it'll be somebody maybe that just maybe has a few more years out, where the person who comes in, the honors deputy, can feel very comfortable going to ask like any type of question they may have, no matter how small or large. So we have found that that has been a very effective aspect of our program and has really helped people develop very strong relationships in the office. And because, it's a class of folks coming in at the same time, they're going to be, they're going to be working, some will be in civil, some will be criminal, some will be public rights, different sections. They will get to know each other, and through those relationships, they really get great exposure to other parts of the office, which is really key. I think it's very satisfying for all of us who've worked in the office for a long time. Our office is chock full of experts on different fields. Whether it's a substantive area or whether it's being a trial attorney, litigator, an appellate attorney, or it's tax law, or it's employment law, or civil rights. You can pick up the phone and have a lot of informal collaboration with them. So I think it really adds to the job satisfaction for all of us. So, early on, these folks coming in on our honors program will be integrated into the office very well. So I think that I will just note, there was a reference to the examination. And so I just wanted, we all wish like it's not called an examination, even though it is called an examination. It is more of a questionnaire. And we just hope that that doesn't, intimidate anybody, because basically all it is, when you go on our website and you'll see how to apply for the honors program or how to apply for a deputy attorney general position, there will be this thing called an examination. You will click on it and you will get to the right link. It's basically a questionnaire that takes about 15 or 20 minutes to fill out about what is your prior experience. If you have 0 to 5 years experience, you are going to be filling out an attorney, and a questionnaire for an attorney position. And that, you're just going to like what, where are you in law school, maybe where you work in the summer. My advice would be just include everything, but it's just really, to see what your experience has been to make sure that you meet the minimum qualifications for somebody who has 1 year experience. For those who have more than 5.5 years experience, they would be filling out the questionnaire for Deputy Attorney General 3. So there's 2 different ones. We have recruiters and a website, or a link to our recruiters on our website. It can be confusing. They will answer any question. They actually prefer people get a hold of them and call them, and they will walk you through the process. Because it can be a little daunting at first and confusing, but it actually is simpler than you would think. So, because what happens is after you take or you submit this questionnaire or you finish what we call the exam, you're given a score, and you're either rank 1, 2, 3. As long as you pass, you have a score, and you are eligible to apply to positions if you are in what we call the top 3 ranks. And many, many people are in those ranks. So it's, again, it sounds worse than it is. and I would just say, even if you think you're not sure you want to apply, you might as well fill out the questionnaire and get on our list, because there may be one day a job opening that may intrigue you, and so that you can just apply very quickly. So I think that with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Alan. I know that's a lot, but again, if folks are interested, the webinars may be a really good way also to get more information about our honors program.
Thank you, Angela. We will go ahead and post that flyer that you mentioned. And we also posted in our chat the link to the website for the career opportunities that Edward mentioned. So I'd like to pass it on to our last panelist of the evening, Judge Sinanian, who was a former Deputy Attorney General and was appointed to the bench, I believe, back in 2002, and he has been there since. And he is going to talk about his experience there and his perspectives from the bench. So go ahead, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity, and it's great to see Angela. Again, we worked together in the AG's office, and I also worked with Javier Becerra, who was also a deputy AG when I was there, and he became a congressman, and now he's the Attorney General of the state of California. I think it's very important to remember what's being emphasized here is that this office, unlike many other public offices, will give you the greatest opportunity to do diverse legal work. And then also give you an opportunity to become a judge or a congressman or whatever it is you want to do. This is an opportunity that is really unique in any kind of public government office, I think. And the AG's office is a perfect example of that type of office. Traditionally, this was the second most important office outside of the governor's office. Governors were former AGs. The last one, I believe, was Governor George Deukmejian, who was the governor of the state of California. And before that, he was the Attorney General of the state of California. And a number of attorney generals have also tried to become governors of the state of California. And it's become a very important office. And the last, I think, decade or so, even more important than ever before. My trajectory in the office is quite long, but I'll try not to bore you with it, but there are a few snippets that I think would be interesting. I came in as a graduate legal assistant to the AG's office, which meant basically that I had to start out as a clerk and then become an attorney. And I was assigned to a section called correctional law. And that section would represent state Department of Corrections, Department of Mental Health in litigation, both in state and federal court. And as Angela pointed out, I think, within the first couple of months, I was given a case involving the ACLU. And I said, my God, I'm a new lawyer. How am I going to defend this case? The ACLU was suing the Department of Corrections on an issue involving segregation of HIV prisoners. HIV-infected prisoners. And in those days, that was commonly done. And they gave me the file and said, okay, you start working on this. That's within a few months of being there. And then within a few months after that, they gave me a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal case. And this is the first year of being a lawyer. It was an incredible opportunity. Of course, it was very nerve-wracking to be able to do that kind of work, but I had great mentors, supervisors who were assisting me. So I enjoyed the work, and then about a year later, I transferred to the Criminal Division, Appeals, Writs, and Trials, where we did mostly appellate work, where you represent the state of California on appeal after a felony conviction is obtained in the lower court. And that was appellate work for, in front of the Court of Appeal in Second Appellate District for about 5 years. And then after that, I transferred to the Civil Division, where again, I had the opportunity to learn civil practice. I was assigned to the licensing section where I represented the agencies, the state agencies in litigation involving licensees, professional, vocational licensees, which also landed me in writs and receivers on occasion and on an appellate case. As Angela pointed out, you're assigned vertically in that office. So when the time comes to, if your case goes on appeal, they don't pull the case from you. They say, okay, that's your case. You got to do the case. On the last day of my, basically the last day before I was appointed to the bench, I was preparing to argue a Supreme Court case, a court case in the California Supreme Court. And the day before the case was to be presented, I received a call saying that you're going to get a call from the governor's office tomorrow. And I said, tomorrow I'm going to be arguing in front of the Supreme Court. They said, well, you're going to get a call saying you got an appointment to the bench, but you can't tell anybody. So on the day that I was arguing in front of the California Supreme Court as a DAG, I got the call from the governor's office basically saying that I was appointed to the bench. So that's to illustrate to you that the opportunities are immense in the AG's office. And if you follow the career path that most of us have followed, I think you'll find that it's a very rewarding and a satisfying experience, and also opens doors to other career options you might have, whether it's in government or in the private sector. One thing I should mention, I think Alexan mentioned the coroner's office. When my first year representing Department of Corrections, they gave us tours of the prisons. So I remember they took us up to the San Luis Obispo prison where they had the hardcore, basically prisoners. And they said, now we're going to give you a tour of the prison. And I was walking in and they said, you have to sign this piece of paper. And I said, what's this paper for? They said, well, you have to sign that you waive your rights to, if you become a hostage in this prison, then we can't negotiate for your release. And I said, my goodness, I'm giving up my life, basically. That's what they used to do. I don't know if it's still true, but we signed that paper and then we took a tour of the prison. And I have to say, it was probably one of the scariest experiences I had, but it was a very interesting and eye-opening experience. And the thing about the AG's office is it will give you so many different opportunities to experience, whether it's in litigation or learning about government, whether the institutions that you represent sometimes involve a variety of experiences that you cannot imagine that you could get as a lawyer. And I think in normal practice of law, you may be sitting in a library researching for a partner or occasionally going to court, but the AG's office is not like that. They're going to give you the file almost the first day you arrive there and say, okay, now it's your job to tackle this case, defend the case brought by the ACLU. Imagine that within the first few months of becoming a lawyer, you're handling some of the most important cases. So I think other than to say that it's a great presentation, I appreciate the Armenian Bar Association for giving everyone the opportunity to learn about the office. And I think it's a great opportunity also to network with the deputy AGs who are on the call on this video. And Angela also, I'm sure, is available to you. If you have any questions, I mean, that's basically my career path. And I have to say, I owe it all to the AG's office for bringing me to where I am today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge. That was great. So we do have a couple of questions from some of our attendees. Alexandre, do you want to take the first one?
Yeah, sure thing, Alan. Thanks. So I see in our question and answer box a question that reads as follows. If I am interested in applying to the honors program, what is the best place to work during my 2L summer? I believe that's a question for Angela.
Yes. Yeah. My advice on that would be, there's no one right place. And my advice would be look for an experience that you're interested in, that you think that you're, when you're interviewing, you're interviewing them too, that you're going to be getting some, good experience during the summer. Because, part of your experience on summer internships is also for you to figure out like what kind of law you want to practice and what kind of environment you want to be in, what's the setting you want to be in. And it's hard to know that so early in your career. I mean, when we bring on people through our honors program, some of them have had, law firm intern experience, but maybe at the same time, during law school, they were very involved in a clinic or another matter that was very public interest oriented. Others have done summer internships at other governmental entities. Maybe it'd be the public defender's office or the district attorney's office or the city attorney's office, sometimes for our office. But that's certainly, interning for us is certainly not the only way to become a competitive candidate for our office. We're looking at the applications. We're doing it very holistically. We're looking at the whole picture. Things, what have you been involved in law school? What opportunities have you sought? We want to see a demonstrated interest in public interest, but there's a lot of ways to get that. And we really just want, we do understand that people need, I certainly understand, and I'll be involved in this, that people need to try some different areas and different types of experiences before making, some commitments. So, I mean, that may be kind of frustrating to hear that there's no like one right way, but I'm hoping that we'll feel actually positive to know that there are many ways to present yourself as a very highly competitive candidate. And there's a lot of good opportunities out there in the summers.
Thank you, Angela. Mm-hmm. The next question we have is, if hired in San Francisco, is there a possibility to move back to LA after a year or two. And I assume this is for the honors program.
Yes. Okay. So we see what we ask for is that there be at least a 2-year commitment in the section that you are placed, that you are, willing to accept that. And that after that 2 years, there are a variety of ways to be transferred to a different city. We have a process, it's like a hardship. If you have a hardship and a need to be in a different city, that will be taken into account and to see if a section can accommodate that. There's also ways to do lateral transfers, as I think all of us on this panel have worked in different sections over the years. To actually accomplish those transfers, though, you need to actually apply for openings and compete with others in our office and people that may be applying from the outside. I would encourage folks to stay in sections for the most part a little bit longer than that, because I think that you can gain really valuable experience especially as a junior attorney, when you are gaining more and more experience in that one area. But there's no one size fits all. So I would say the bottom line is 2 years in San Francisco, and then there may be some options for transfer.
Piggybacking on that, there was another question that I was asking. If we want to stay in the LA area after graduation, is the AG honors program out of the question for this year?
Well, it would be, if you're not prepared to move to San Francisco once we are no longer working remotely, because currently the vast majority of our attorneys are working remotely. By September 2021, safety is paramount. Assuming it is safe, attorneys will be back in the office. So, I would say that probably is not a good option if you want to stay in Los Angeles. There are I would stay, taking a look at, continue to look at our webpage, because some sections are making positions open to a graduate legal assistant or an entry-level attorney. Though it's rare, it does happen. So I would just, keep looking at that. And then often, frankly, people are transferring to our office from private practice. After, 5 years, 6 years, that's another route that many people take. And it can be a really extremely valuable experience for the work in, most of our sections, that they have that, private practice experience, because, they're going to be litigating with private practitioners, and having done that, you will gain a lot of skills that will be helpful.
All right, I think our next question here is probably for Judge Sinanian. The question asks, if we want to be appointed to the bench, is there an advantage to working in government versus private practice? Is there an advantage to one over the other?
Okay, a few years ago, the Judicial Council of California did a study. I don't recall what year that was. And they found, I believe, more than 50%, perhaps 60% of the judges had government experience at one point in time in their career, whether you started out as a government lawyer or you ended up as a government lawyer after being in private practice. A large number, it may have been even higher than that. Don't quote me on the percentages, but I recall it was a very large percentage of judges who had prior experience as government lawyers. I think the opportunity that the government work gives you is unlike any other because you're interacting with individuals who are in positions of power. In my case, just to give you an example, I did not have unlike some of my colleagues, I did not have the ambition to become a judge. Well, while my colleagues, many of them wanted to become judges, it wasn't something I was necessarily interested in. But the opportunity came up in 2000, I believe it was 2000, 2001, when the Attorney General at that time, Bill Lockyer, was asked by the Armenian community and the lawyers who were handling the case of Haroutounian versus New York Life, which had to do with the claims that the genocide victims, the Armenian genocide victims, had brought against New York Life. And at that time, the Attorney General was approached by the attorneys who were handling the case for the Armenian community. And the Attorney General asked that I join him at that meeting. And that gave me an opportunity to get to know the Attorney General, his the executive staff, and others in the office. And from that experience, we did write an amicus brief. I was a co-author of the amicus brief that the AG's office filed in that case in support of the Armenian community. And that experience opened doors for me, I think, where I would not have had the opportunity otherwise, where individuals, both from the Armenian community and the AG's office, approached me and they said, you know, you should apply to the bench. And in 2001, I began to think about it, and then 9/11 happened. And then I thought the world was coming to an end, and I pretty much dropped everything. And then after a few months, late 2001, I submitted my application. And then in May of 2002, I was appointed to the Superior Court. And frankly, I didn't expect that was going to happen. But I think it made a big difference when I got to know individuals who were in positions, important positions, both in government and outside of government. And one of the things I will encourage you to do when you're a deputy AG, which I didn't do enough of, is I think to get out and join bar associations and get involved with the Armenian Bar or LA County Bar, whatever bar association interests you. I think it's important to also be out and active and do public interest work. And do charity work if you can, because as an AG, sometimes people forget about you because you're working so hard and you have so many, interesting cases. You tend to spend a lot of time in the office, but it's important, and I didn't do this enough, to get out also and mingle with other lawyers and to get to know them, because you never know. One day you might want to be a judge, and then the opportunity will come up at that time when you have had the opportunity, of course, to mingle and get to know so many people in the legal profession.
Thank you, Judge.
I'll answer the question.
This next question is for David. How much of your experience in your prior section, which I believe was the business and tax section, was relevant and helped you in your transition to the natural resources section? In other words, was that prior experience looked at and did that help you get the job? Because to me, they sound like very different responsibilities and different experiences. And so did one help you get to the other, essentially?
That's a great question. I believe so. I mean, coming into the AG's office, I had no experience with writ practice, and I got a lot of that in business and tax, and that applies to the work I'm currently doing in natural resources. For example, you know, I have a writ involving a regional water quality control board up in Northern California that issued some cleanup and abatement orders for illegal cannabis cultivation there. Interestingly, the one case that I mentioned that came down from the 3rd District recently was the co-assigned case between business and tax and natural resources because it involved CAL FIRE. And so there was quite a bit of overlap on that case. And I did work closely with people that I work with now. So I think that helped as well. I would say that, you know, although all the sections do really different things, there's all kind of an underlying, you know, public service litigation experience that you get at the AG's office in any section that can translate to others.
Great. Thank you, David. I don't see any more questions in our chat. Alexander, are there any that you see?
Yeah, I think it's a good time to probably end it.
Okay. Well, I want to thank all of the panelists for volunteering their time and working with the Armenian Bar Association. We really appreciate it. One of the things that I learned in speaking with the panelists is that the Attorney General's office is committed to diversity, and it really shows in our conversations that we had and their willingness to work with the Armenian Bar Association. So thank you for that. And just for kicks, this was the first webinar that both the Young Lawyers Committee and the Student Affairs Committee has hosted since the pandemic. So I'm glad that we were able to get everybody together. And again, we thank you for your time and all the very helpful information that you provided to us.
Great. Thank you
Thanks,
so
everyone.
much, Alan. And like, just folks should feel free to email me if they have follow-up questions, and please feel free to provide my email address to
Okay.
folks.
I'll go ahead and do that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so
Thank you very much.
much.
Thank
It's
you.
Thank
great to
you.
see everybody.
Bye-bye. Stay
Bye.
safe.
Bye.